Good morning, and welcome everyone to the Circular Republic Festival here in Munich.
Good morning, everybody. Warm welcome here at the Munich Urban Collab.
We are, as you can see behind us, Leonard Niemer and Tutinia Hörner, and we are extremely delighted to be welcoming you to this very first edition of the Circular Republic Festival. This will be the place where impact-driven individuals, creatives, people that really care about circular economy, startups, corporates, really come together to push forward the transformation. And it really doesn't matter if you're sitting right here in Munich's Urban Collab or you joined in from online. We're so delighted that we have a great crowd actually tuning in from everywhere around Germany.
We have 758 people online. We counted them all. So warm welcome, everybody, joining us virtually for the Circular Republic Festival. So, speaking about driving the transformation forward, this is actually what Circular Republic is doing. Circular Republic, an initiative by UnternehmerTUM, has started the operations beginning of this year, and they have done a lot of projects already. They have been quite busy in many different fields. Of course, the Circular Republic Festival, these days, the highlight of the year. They've been working on different topics around batteries, on textile, certainly topics that you are going to explore, we are all going to explore over the course of the next 2 days here at the Munich Urban Collab.
So what to expect? I think every time impact-driven individuals meet, it's always the opportunity for you to, first of all, get inspired, but also to expand your network, to learn new things, to also challenge sustainable solutions you hear, but also let others challenge your solutions. And the good thing is that we have a great lineup of speakers, and not only here on this main stage, but also on different stages. So let me give you a short introduction. We will have next to the main stage, the side stage that is pretty much, if you follow my arm across the room, over there on this floor. Then we'll be having different startups, I think we're more than 30 startups here, that will be presenting their sustainable solutions. So this will happen at the first floor in the startup area. And in case you're into real good coffee, we will have a barista there who has real good coffee sponsored by IFAD. For all of you who say, I'm rather the person who likes to go deeper and deep dive in smaller groups, we will also have a really great workshop area for you to connect with others.
And I think super important part, right? We want you to connect. We also want to learn from you, and we want you to learn from each other. And we thought about, maybe that's something that we do right now, we want to learn something from you. We've been thinking quite a lot, what's the most important question when we talk about the circular economy transformation? And that's pretty much, are you happy to be here today? Katina, are you happy with that answer?
I'm unfortunately not happy. As you can tell, I'm a very positive person, and I think we need to get the energy a little bit more up. So I will ask the question again. Are you happy to be here at this festival?
That works.
Sounds way better. Thank you.
And we should have checked what the online crowd was doing online. So, no, very good. But of course, we want to learn more from you when it comes to circular economy. And we do this with Mentimeter. I think you all know it by now. We have Wi-Fi for you here in case you need to connect. You get the code in a second. And in Mentimeter, you all know how it works. You will see the QR code in a second, or you go to menti.com and then enter your code. So that's the Wi-Fi first. Everybody please connect. Then let's take a look at Menti, because there we really want to learn from you and get a few impulses also that we're going to pick up over the course of the next 2 days. Everybody's taking a photo now. We're in a lot of photos. Just scan the QR code. Gonna hide. All right, everybody who's on Menti, we give you another few seconds.
And if you already joined, you can just give us a like so we can see a lot of likes right here, ready to start.
They are coming in.
Yes.
That's the online crowd. All right, you're ready for the first question? Probably you are. Let's take a look. Tutinia, what's the first question?
So we thought about asking you, I mean, we're all about circular economy. How would you rate your own circularity when it comes to your initiative or your business? So not you personally, but your business or your company. What do you say?
We do the same, but we do it in an old school way. Tutinia, pen and paper. Rate your own circularity.
Mine. That's
on a
unfair.
scale from 0 to 10. Well, I'm just sneaking here. You can see the results coming in. Don't get biased, right? Try to reflect on your own. All right, I got my number. What's yours?
4, I guess.
Well, I got a 2.
2, even.
You're more circular than I am.
Well, I try, but I think compared to the crowd, I probably. All right.
But what you can see here, I mean, there's the average score, right? But then we also see what are the most common ones. So that seems to be the 3 right there, 6, 7-ish.
Yeah.
Who's a 10? Who was that? Don't worry about data privacy, just raise your hand. There was nobody. Somebody was just like slipping all the way through and can't correct it anymore. That would have been interesting to learn from you. So maybe in the coffee break we found out who's like the most circular person in the room, most circular organization.
We'll find you.
But it's interesting because that's something we've done also before. We want to discuss this. Where are we in that transformation? I think fundamentally important to understand, is that just the tip of the iceberg? Are we already far away on the way? What do we have to do when we talk about roadblocks and so on? But we have another question for you. And this is basically, which are the industries and the most important sectors to turn around? And this is a word cloud. So we know circular economy is taking place in a lot of different sectors, a lot of different industries. And we can write them down as well. I like that.
Automotive, quite big in the middle. Construction, textile, mobility. A lot of industries coming up, all of them needing circular economy. Yeah.
Don't get dizzy by looking at the screen,
But I think it's interesting. Automotive is in the center and doesn't quite change. Oh, now we have competition by construction. Did you expect that, Leo?
Well, automotive, textile, for sure. I mean, we mentioned it, right, in the opening. It's an important topic. Construction, I mean, safe to say we're going to learn more about that, how important the built environment is for the transformation. Automotive, we have automotive here as well. So that's kind of automotive mobility transportation, right? We can still merge it. Let's take a look at some of these smaller ones. The most important sector to turn around is the government. Okay, that will be an interesting one. We might have another session on that one, so let's take a look how that goes. All right. So we got 130 people putting in plastics industry. Yeah, super interesting. So maybe also there, let's take a photo, a quick screenshot, and really see if these are still the most important topics you will say are the most important ones by the end of the Circular Republic Festival, or if you changed your opinion. I think that would be really interesting. All right, thanks everybody. We'll do the Menti as we continue throughout the program, because again, this will be important impulses for all of the sessions. Now let's get started with the official kickoff.
Definitely. So who are we awaiting, Leo?
Well, for the Circular Republic team, right? And it's it's not the entire team, it's a big team, but it's the 3 co-founders. I would like to welcome you on stage. Matthias, Ballweg, please come on stage, co-founder and director of Circular Republic. Matze got a long applause. Susanne Kadner, also co-founder, head of ecosystems. Warm welcome. You also get a long applause, and then Niclas are going to introduce you in a second. Niclas-Alexander Mauss, also co-founder, head of operations. First of all, big applause, and then I say a few sentences for all that. See, that was a quick intro, but let me say a few more words, because we've been also working for quite some time. I think you bring together this great mix of expertise. I mean, Mats, you've been working in corporate automotive industry consulting for many, many years. Also with Systemic, I think everybody knows Systemic as one of the leading companies in the field. Susanne working for Acatec and also initiating the Circular Economy Initiative Deutschland, Germany, driving force behind that big roadmap for Germany. And Niclas, also you combine the 2 worlds, like the corporate world, or let's say the business world, and then also the academia world, and you initiated Circularity as the biggest research hub in Germany now. So I think that's a great expertise, but I'll keep it short here. Over to you, guys.
Thank you, Leo. When we founded Circular Republic, we came from different perspectives, but what was clear to us is that while we are convinced that the need for circular economy is there and that circular economy is inevitable, something is missing. We all knew for many years that circular economy is responsible for 50% of the climate crisis. We knew that it was responsible for 90% of the biodiversity loss, that it was crucial to tackle a couple of other planetary boundaries, like the phosphorus cycle and others, and the oceans. And that's actually one of the beauties of circular economy. It's tackling so many planetary boundaries at once. And that's especially compared to just fighting CO2, which is just one planetary boundaries. But while it has all these beauties and it's so important, we didn't really progress. For many years, we saw the virgin raw material consumption on the planet rising and rising. We'll hear more this afternoon when we talk about measuring circular economy. Figures are climbing new record peaks every year. Also, there are so cool circular economy solutions, and we felt there is a need to change, especially to change the narrative, to change the language. While here at Circular Republic, while embracing the positive effect for the planet, for the climate, for biodiversity of circular economy, we talk about business. We talk about economic impact of circular economy, and we try to build economically working solutions for circular economy. Because by now, circular economy is not only inevitable anymore from a sustainability point of view, but it's inevitable from an economic point of view. Did you know that supply chains break every 1.4 years by wars, by pandemics, by floodings, in a way that raw materials rise then more by 10% in price, in a way that for several weeks production stop. That's happening so often by now that there are real risk costs. So there is a resilience point of view that is coming into the game. And while those value chain disruptions are causing real costs, circular economy is causing real and actual advantages. Companies that understand how to leverage repair models, how to leverage recycled material, how to leverage usage-based models, they have an actual business advantage, especially if they cooperate with partners that help them with that. And that's what we're trying to build here. We're certain circular economy is where diversification used to be, where digitalization used to be in the 90s. It's still in baby shoes, but it's inevitable and it will come, and in the 2030s, there will be not a single business model, not a single company that is very successful and it does not have a circular economy business model. And that's what we could call a new normal, isn't it, Niklas?
Exactly, a new normal as we've experienced it in other contexts a couple of times where technological or societal innovations actually change the face of the world. The most common example that's often quoted are those mini supercomputers that we now all carry in our pockets. Tell that to someone from 2006, that was the year of the World Cup in Germany. It was a world without smartphones. Tell someone from 2005 that you can't smoke in a restaurant. It's all new normals. It's obvious. We've gotten so much used to it that we can't even recognize anymore how unthinkable such things had been previously. Tell someone from 2020, from early 2020, about Zoom calls or remote work. So many new normals have become downright natural to all of us already throughout the past years. Now it's a matter of common sense that what Matthias said, that the new normal for our economic system can only be circular for the reasons that Matthias just explained. And that it can only mean that we overcome our basically addiction to ever new primary resources. But yes, getting there is hard. Changing an extractive linear system that we've gotten used to and that we've been optimizing over 2 centuries basically is hard. But what makes us hopeful is that we see so many change makers out there, and especially in this room, who are working toward it, who have also throughout the last years been dedicating their professional lives, their careers, who have been pushing this as entrepreneurs, as intrapreneurs with own ventures in established organizations, in family businesses, and who prove that already in today's world, circularity is something that is working, and that is the concept that we will see much more in the future. But still, achieving a circular economy, yes, it's hard. It's a matter of awareness and awareness and understanding. But first and foremost, it's a matter of execution, of getting it done. And that's why it's so important that we are not anywhere here today, but we are at UnternehmerTUM, which is about getting things done. UnternehmerTUM is maybe the heart chamber of innovation and entrepreneurship in Europe. And that's why having Circular Republic as a part of UnternehmerTUM, we also want to invite you to embrace one thought during this festival, and also when working hopefully together with us. It's the thought of how to get it done. How can we not wait for the change, not wait for regulation, but how can we be the shapers of that change ourselves and get it on the way? One note regarding the festival itself, because also here, of course, we're trying to walk the talk as good as we can. It's not perfect, but it's a couple of details I'd like to point out. One, you'll see no giveaways, no flyers whatsoever, because we all know it starts with avoiding what we simply don't need. You'll see only signs that can be reused. Anything that would require an update in the future is not physical anymore. It's virtualized. We can update it by easiest means in the future. Your lanyards that you're wearing, they're based on ocean plastic provided by Sequel Initiative. Please also give those back because we're going to reuse them. Food is only vegetarian or vegan, amongst others, through a collaboration with Community Kitchen, who we'll be hearing from later on. Drinks are provided in reusable cups by Cycle and with refill stations from Redrink. And by the way, also the t-shirts you're seeing around here, they're provided by a startup called Reshirt. They are printed with reversible ink, so after the festival, we'll be able to wash them and give them back to Reshirt, and Sabine is demonstrating perfectly. It's all just small things, but it shows. There we have, you're from Reshirt, right? Even with a baby, yeah. It's those small things that prove there are minor changes we can make. Now it's already in today's world. Now it's the question how we are gonna foster the disruptive change that we actually need. One thing that I want to point out in this moment are a couple of people who made this festival possible, and that is first and foremost, actually Sabine, who's been nearly on stage right now, our incredible colleague, without whom all this would never have been possible. That's our tech partner Lange IT, who we can, and many other UnternehmerTUM colleagues can always count on. That's the team of Munich Urban Collab, and that's our highly valued event agency, eCent, that put this all together. Thank you all so much.
But it's also the partners that trust us and that started to trust us in the last year, and we're so grateful for having such excellent partners. Obviously, you all saw the car BMW, you saw it SAP, Aurubis, On Running, Palfinger, PreZero and the Dieter Schwarz Foundation, Zoex, Tengelmann and Webasto. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for trusting us in this challenge and going to a circular world. Thank you.
And then, of course, we want to thank our Circular Republic Festival partners. And this is IFAD, L'Oreal, the Bertelsmann Foundation. It's our friends from Munich, Rehab Republic, and Circular Munich. And it's, of course, the team of Circular Futures. So if you listen to the range, yeah. So if you listen to this range of organizations, companies, and people that we just mentioned, it's obvious and it becomes very clear you can't do this alone. And this is why we are here together today. When we founded Circular Republic about a year ago, we did this out of this realization that these circular ecosystems everybody is talking about, they do not develop by themselves. It seemed like you need some kind of catalyst to get this wheel turning. And we want to be this catalyst for change. How do we do this? We identified 3 areas of work for us. It's inspire, it's get out there, celebrate the innovative potential of the circular economy and show its opportunities. It's exactly what we do here today. It's enable, support the people on their learning journey. What does it mean if you want to become circular, and which hurdles are you going to face? We have to be honest about this. And this is irrespective of whether you are a startup founder or if you come from an established company. And then, of course, it's to act. This is what we are here for. This is our DNA. Get into the doing, build these industry alliances, find these innovative solutions, and then really create the hub for applied circular economy. You may ask yourself, what is our vision? Well, if we fast forward a few years, we really want to see Central Europe as the hub for circular economy, business models, solutions, and innovations, same like the Bay Area is the hotspot for digital solutions today. And of course, we know that given the current global upheaval, imagining and thinking about such a transformation may be naive or it may seem impossible. But I believe that especially today, maybe more than ever, you need some kind of stubborn optimism if you want to make a change. And I think Christiana Figueres, she's former UNFCCC secretary and was responsible for negotiating the Paris Agreement. I think she put it really nicely. Optimism is a force that enables you to create a new reality. And we believe this new reality is possible. And if we look around here, we actually think it's already on its way. So thank you for that. Our friends from Project Together have actually worked hard these past years on making this new reality visible. And with this, I'd really like to hand over to Ilka Stein from Circular Futures, who should tell us a little bit about this new reality, which has come to see the light yesterday at your Circular Futures Festival.
Thank you, and very warm welcome, everyone. This is very awkward to be the only one who's digital right now, and I honestly envy you that you're all in the room. I will say a little bit about this. Two of my dear colleagues are on their way. They actually managed to be in a train, and it's currently even on time, so they should be there with you this afternoon. First of all, congratulations to the team from Circular Republic. It looks splendid, and I'm really missing out, I can tell that. So we started yesterday this unbelievable Circular Week. I mean, looking at all the different events that are happening in Germany this week, we are really fortunate to have partnered with Circular Republic, and Niclas, Susanne, and Mauss, you've been with us all along. We kicked off yesterday a digital part of this Circular Futures and Circular Republic Festival, and to be very honest, after such a day, I'm sure many of you know this feeling after a full day of a conference. I'm still slightly overwhelmed, haven't really digested everything, and not everything has sunk in yet. But you have asked me on some of the highlights from yesterday, and so on the top of my head, also linking Niclas and Susanne to some of the things that you just mentioned. I think really one of the highlights yesterday for me was that we've decided to start the festival slightly unconventional. We did interviews up front and created a little video on what we call the dialogue with the future. And the question there was really, if we were looking from the future towards now 2023, and if we all had to answer the question, how did we actually manage all these transitions? What were our first steps, and what were some of the things that actually kept us going? So we went into these conversations, and it was really beautiful and eye-opening and deep conversations. And some of the topics is really, Niclas, what you just mentioned. I think one of the keywords that's still, or sentences that's still in my head, is that someone voiced and said, well, actually the big transformation started when I realized that I shouldn't be waiting for someone else to do it, but I need to start changing and doing it. And the second aspect that was mentioned there, Susanne, is exactly that someone beautifully phrased it in German on saying, well, every now and then we had to get into the luxurious moments of actually dreaming up big utopias and dreaming big that a different alternative future is allowed, even if times were feeling daunting and maybe we often thought that we shouldn't allow us this luxury. So these were some of the thoughts in the beginning. It helped us to really set a wonderful atmosphere, and the connection was then throughout palpable. And maybe a little bit kind of different from your setup today, I think the history of the Circular Futures and what's very special about these festivals is that it's really the sense of community that we are trying to create. And maybe that's also just something to kind of leave you in the room with. The beginning, we started really with a community of mostly startups, all doing amazing work. And it was this feeling of, if we can stand together and strengthen the cooperation amongst the startups, then we're able to get circular economy out of the niche into the mainstream. And when I look at who showed up yesterday at the festival, it slowly starts to change. The composition starts to change, and we're starting to see that more and more people realize that we need a different alternative. And leaving at the end of the day with a feeling of, here is a community of change makers that are willing to really try. So looking at this wonderful room right now, I think, Susanne, you asked me if there's something that I want to pass on to you on a message that I would like to forward. I really think it's mostly this use that you are actually together in a room. Use these connections, use these moments and these opportunity to talk to each other and to create these strong bonds and networks, because I truly believe, besides of all the technology, besides of the business models that we need, at the core of it, we also need the people who know each other and to strongly stand there. So if you're wondering why I'm joining you online, it's because I actually really don't have a chance to be in Munich. I live in wonderful Johannesburg, South Africa, so I'm greeting you literally from the other side of the world. And we have a wonderful greeting here that I want to leave you with. And maybe every now and then today, when you have a chance to meet some of these strangers over fabulous food or coffee, because we know that's where the real conversations normally happen, the South African or the isiZulu phrase that we often use is Sanibonani, and it literally translates into I see you. So I really hope that you have lots of moments where you see each other, meet each other, and form those connections. Have a fabulous, fabulous day, and I can't wait to hear what's happening on that side. Thank you.
Thank you, Ilka.
This was wonderful, Ilka. Nothing to add. And with this, we start our festival. Thank you all so much.
Thank you very much, Susanne, Mats, and Niklas. Safe to see we're going to see you more on this stage, on the other stages over the course of the next 2 days. And big thanks to Ilka from South Africa back to Munich. And now my big pleasure to welcome Helmut Schönenberger, CEO of UnternehmerTUM, and Alexander Bilgeri. He's the Vice President for Communications, Human Resources, Production, Purchasing, and Sustainability at the BMW Group. Who can repeat that? Warm welcome. Good to have you here. Hey, Alexander. Hello. So I would say from Circular Futures, we first of all go to the circular past. And we've heard now a little bit about Circular Republic, but I want to hear from you, how was that idea actually born? A little bit down the memory lane. Who wants to get started? Helmut, you want to get started with this?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, it's great that you're here. And I think all these new initiatives and all these new ideas start with great people. And as Susanne said, okay, we have to come together, we have to stick together our heads. And here in Munich, there's so many really great people together. from academia, from the startup ecosystem, from family businesses, but also from large companies. And so here's one guy, Alexander Wilgeri. And Alexander is not only in communication at BMW, but he's also talking to people. And so we stick together and thought about, okay, where can we be different? Where can we make a dent to the universe? Where can we make an impact for sustainability, but also be profitable, have strong companies, have a strong society? And so we came into talks, and maybe before I talk a little bit more also about what UnternehmerTUM is and that, and so how did you perceive these talks, Alexander?
So I think it was roughly 15 months ago or so. It was shortly after the IIA Mobility 2021, and we came here together and we talked, and you had some great ideas, and we could do this and we should do that. And I said, no, it's too small. Helmut, we have to think bigger. It's about the future. And then we discussed on, and all of a sudden, because we also showed at the 2021 IIA this BMW I Vision Circular, let's do something about circularity. And not only from an ecological perspective, but also from a social and economical perspective. Because I'm a strong believer that circularity is the only way we can get companies future-proof, and we can ensure that there is still somehow growth without using resources in a linear way anymore.
Yeah, and in general, these conversations I think are so important. So my background is more in academia and the startup ecosystem, and as Alexander said, okay, normally in our world, okay, we are full of ideas and we love to experiment, and a lot of students go in and out and many reinvent the wheel again, but there are also great new ideas, okay? And for us it's extremely important not only to be in our little ecosystem of these creative people, but it's super cool to talk also to guys like Alexander, who are really running huge companies, global companies, pushing out a lot of products, serving millions of customers. And so this conversation is so important, as Alexander said before, also to understand the scale of doing business, really serving millions of people, having products out there which are globally distributed. This makes a huge difference, and I think this is what we also are doing here now for 20 years at UnternehmerTUM with the Technical University of Munich, to building an ecosystem where this can happen. And many of you here in the audience, like Søren from Infineon, you're part of this ecosystem, and this is also what's so lovely, what's happening here in this building, that all these people come together, that there are working groups from the large companies, from Mittelstands companies, from research, academia, from the startup ecosystem, but also, and this is extremely important for me, also from the public side. So this building is a joint initiative with the city of Munich and UnternehmerTUM, and so the mayor and our chairwoman, Susanne says we're sitting together again, another conversation, saying we need a place here where people from all these different ecosystems really come together and form one ecosystem. And let's do something, let's build a building together, and this is now what is happening. And now people are creative, and one example also for Circular is that we are running a project together with the new European Bauhaus. So that was also super cool that we were awarded as one of the first Bauhaus projects. And together with the European Commission. We run now a project in Neuperlach. And again, circular is a super important topic in this field. It's about commercial buildings. And so we bring again together the city, established companies, research, and try to innovate this field. And I think this is also, again, Niklas, Susanne, and Mauss, what you described as the new normal, that we really help together, that you focus on the big problems and find solutions. And a huge topic is in circularity also all the battery topics, and so this is also for us a huge opportunity, also a business opportunity to work with Alexander and his team together, because BMW is now building this circular economy in the automotive industry and in the e-mobility, and this is a huge opportunity. And maybe would you like to say a few words how you perceive it, and how, as Susanne, you were saying it like, okay, we act and we enable and so, but what does it mean in reality?
So firstly, we always had these discussions, and I was always the guy who's coming back and says, "And what is the KPI, and how do we measure it, and how how do we bring it down to a concrete project?" And we are, for example, very happy that we have, and Carsten is over there, a battery project here, because latest in the mid of 2030. There will be big volume coming back of batteries from battery electric vehicles. And we have to manage together to recycle them and bring the material back into the loop. Otherwise, we will have a problem, because nobody can be sure that in the future this material will be inexpensive. Nobody can be sure that we can get this material. And there's also somehow this CO2 goal, and using material which is already extracted out of soil has a much lower CO2 footprint than bringing it out of the soil. So getting there, we need ideas, we need creativity. And the great thing is with something like Circular Republic, that we bring together universities, startups, talents, great minds, big companies, and they're working on one idea, on one solution, and thinking about how can we industrialize this, how can we make a business out of this, because I'm pretty sure we are not able to do it alone, and we don't have to do it alone, because I always say, if you're sitting at a harbor and you see all the boats, if the water is rising, every boat rises, the big ones, the small ones, and every boat has a benefit. And I think this is the same with circularity. If you would like to stay on this blue planet and not escape to Mars like others would like to do, we have to get the stuff done, and we have to get it done together. The big companies, the enterprises, the NGOs, the governments, the universities, the startups, the talented people. Otherwise, there will be no solution.
Yeah, and this handshake is so important. And so, Susanne, you were talking about this vision that we become really an epicenter here and a driving force for circular economy. And it sounds like, okay, how can we do this? And okay, Susanne, dream on. But I really think it's possible. And so if you look at the way we had here at UnternehmerTUM, and I also could go, is it's really cool that you can really build such an innovation and startup ecosystem. And now we are the leading startup ecosystem in Germany here. We produce out of this ecosystem at TUM and UnternehmerTUM, we produce one high growth company per week together. And hopefully many of you will start another one, and maybe it's together with a company, with an established company like Infineon, BMW, Tengelmann, or you do it as a student, but on average, we do it once a week. And this is extremely possible. Now, our commitment as UnternehmerTUM is that we are the leading startup factory in Europe, and that we really push forward our ecosystem, our machine, and it's with all these, we have about 20 programs like the education programs where we have 10,000 people in these programs per year, 10,000. We have incubators, accelerators, venture funds, maker spaces, you name it. So it's really a production line of building great companies, great sustainable companies. And our commitment is really push Circular forward. And we need you for that, and we need our great friends like BMW, like Alexander. And so thank you so much.
I have a few more questions
Leo?
for Alexander.
Yeah, Leo.
No, of course. No, you're,
Leo,
you're not finished yet. You have a lot of work.
You have to pay us.
Yeah,
You're doing your job.
I'll ping you. So I'm still thinking about that moment when you suggested to Helmut that you have to think bigger. So you also put a little bit of pressure on it. What are your expectations really then also for Circular Republic to think bigger? What can be done within that initiative?
So firstly, leadership is not a function, leadership is a mindset. And everybody can take over leadership. Secondly, everybody is always talking in Germany about the Bay Area and Silicon Valley, and that was a great time. Hey, guys, we have everything here in the north of the Alps. We have venture capital, we have companies, we have universities. If you think from Linz to the Schwäbische Alb, from Bayreuth to St. Gallen, Zurich, and in the middle, Munich, we are able to create something special here. And that's about thinking bigger. I always said to Helmut, we need to get something done like Silicon Valley was for the digital world. And also Silicon Valley started like this, and then the ideas and the money and the companies came together. And this is what should happen here. And my vision or my dream would be, if we go 10 years into the future, that if somebody is sitting in Singapore or somewhere in the middle of Africa or in Australia and says, oh, I would like to do something about circularity and sustainability, and then says, I have to go to Munich. I have to the metropolitan area of Munich, because there is where the creativity is, where the science is, where the money is, and so on. And if we have achieved that, then we have really achieved something. And that's not because we all would like to become some saints and save the world. There's also a business impact inside. If we get this talent to this area, then we can also create prosperity here. If we get all these ideas here, we can also ensure that companies have a future. Because I think, and Matze, you said it before, we have to turn the business processes in a circular system. Otherwise, there will not be any chance in the future to tackle the challenges of our time, to tackle the challenges of society, of environmental, but also to give people income and also the possibility to live a good life globally.
I was just looking at the two, but yeah, the applause. I was looking at the three co-founders. They don't feel no pressure on their shoulders. They still look good and relaxed. And they're like, oof,
Leo,
that's a big plan.
We are feeling this pressure every 4 weeks.
No, but I think that's important. So we give a little bit of pressure back to Alexander. I mean, you talked about what you also do at the BMW Group. Circularity is one of the 3 core pillars of your strategy. So there's also a lot of pressure to transform such a gigantic company.
Yep, but you can think about the answer, but
That's good that you give him some extra time.
Talk about this ambitious level, and the challenges are huge, the opportunities are also huge, and it's so much fun, it's so great really to pursue these ideas. And so my best moments I have is when I look in the eyes of these startups, of the innovation teams of established companies. They're also super cool innovators, and they come up with really great, sustainable, scalable ideas and products, which then go on the market and also tick the boxes on the KPI sets. But this is the coolest thing we can do, and so this is what gives me energy. And we should be ambitious, and it's really fun, and to see all these great companies coming out, see that also other people think this is great. So if you look at the statistics, we attract $2 to $3 billion per year in venture capital, 2 to 3 billion. The valuation which is produced is 5 to 10 billion per year. And it's not only Munich money, 60% is American money. So also a lot of people look at this ecosystem, they believe in us, they believe in our teams, and let's go this way further. And circular is such a cool opportunity field. And I'm totally sure, Niklas, that in 5 to 10 years we see a few unicorns in this field out of our ecosystem, like we have now Personio or Celonis in the software space, or in the aerospace space with Lilium or ESA Aerospace. I'm totally sure, and this should be the ambition level. And now your answer.
Alexander, you had 75 seconds to think about how do you transform the BMW group then?
So it's not about me transforming the entire BMW group, that's many people more. But I think what's very important is, and people are sometimes think it's not going fast enough. But if you turn a company around with 150,000 people, you have to take these people with you. You have to explain to them why we have to change. And we never wanted to have a bad bank and a good bank, and the bad bank is all the technology of the past, and the good bank is all the technology of the future, because then you leave people behind. And leaving people behind is not a good thing, especially if you look outside with our political systems. We have a responsibility to keep people at their workplace, to give them an income. Otherwise, we will create, as industries, social instability. And that's also a reason why transformation has always to be with the people. And it starts in a technical way. We have to change how we design, which material we use, because that also has an impact on how we can recycle what we produce. But we also have to rethink how we employ people. There are many people outside, and we know that we will have less and less experts in Germany, and there are people outside who would like to work part-time, fathers, moms, whatever. And we have also to find solutions that they can do and work for us. This is also a part of sustainability, because sustainability has also social dimensions and economical dimensions. And ecological, if you change something, it's only trustworthy, or people will believe you if it is related to your business processes, to your value chain. If I say I will plant a tree for every car I build, then that's not sustainability. Then I'm doing a community project or something else. Sustainability has always to be connected to your value chain, to your business processes. So if I save 6.5 million liters of water a year in Dingolfing in the paint shop, then I save money, I do good for the environment, and I secure jobs. Then is it, from a company perspective, then it is sustainability. I have to dig in where I can change things on my own, and I don't have to pass the responsibility to someone else.
Thank you very much to both of you. I think also the aspect with the transformational speed. You also get another big round of applause in a second. The aspect with the transformational speed is also something that we're going to pick up, right? We need to be faster, we know that, but how fast can we actually be? That's something that we're going to discuss today. I think, first of all, thanks to both of you, Helmut and Alexander. You raised the ambition level high and the pressure on all of us, but what I understood
so
also
you
positive pressure.
At least in 10 years, a unicorn?
No, there were more unicorns. We heard that, we have recorded. It was not one, it was like, how many unicorns? Let's have a poll. 3, 4, 5? Yeah, okay. So pressure is on. I think a lot of things to do, but really that ambitious mindset fundamentally important. So big applause, Helmut Schönenberger, Alexander Bilgeri, for being here with us.
Thank you very much.
So we're going back to back. Our next speaker, Ramona Liberoff. She's Executive Director at PACE, so that's kind of right? The topic now, we need to speed up, platform for accelerating the circular economy. So you're a platform bringing together multiple stakeholders from all around, because we heard it before, the ecosystem approach, fundamentally important. A lot of different topics. Some of the key topics, of course, on critical raw materials and minerals and the food system. Glad to have you with us here, Ramona. Warm welcome on stage at the Circular Republic Festival.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's so nice to be here in Munich with you, and also welcome to those who are online. And thank you especially to the amazing Circular Republic team and all who have helped put this incredible event together. I'm honored by the invitation. I wanted to start my talk with a little bit of history, my own personal history about how I became involved in this. And the reason I'm telling you this is not because it's a nice story, but also because it covers many of the themes that Helmut, that Alexander, that others have brought up this morning around the importance of thinking big and also thinking deep about where innovation can lead to broader systems change. So a number of years ago, I was probably much like many of the corporates in the room. I wore formal clothes to work. I was in a brutally competitive industry. I happened to be leading the innovation analytics teams for Unilever at the time. So it was a particularly interesting moment in the early 2010s. And for those who can do math, you now know how old I am. So there were incredible challenges and opportunities in emerging markets. There were amazing opportunities and challenges coming from digital, so it was a time of real transformation. But it really was a fight, because frankly, we already had more than we needed in the world, and now everything was about finding a tiny, tiny increment of advantage in price or in format, or in terms of understanding consumer needs, and more about that later. But one day, after going around the world and working with a big toothpaste team in China and a big laundry detergent team in India and a big food team in Eastern Europe, I happened to be in the headquarters of Unilever at 100 Victoria Embankment. And there's a very quiet floor where the CEO sits. And at the time, there was this small room, and 6 people were in it. And I was very curious about what these people were doing. And it turned out that was the moment when my whole life changed, because these were the people with no budget and no resource. I mean, they were smaller than even the tiniest toothpaste team in China, but they were basically the people who had the responsibility for the toughest, most interesting challenges that humanity faced, the things that we would then think of as sustainable development goals. So this was the team at Unilever working on social innovation. And they were basically working on questions like, how do we get sufficient, affordable, clean water in Nigeria to people? Or how do we basically drastically reduce the level of child mortality in India? And for those who've ever seen the campaign Gondapa, it's an amazing example of how something as simple as soap and hand washing can lead to a dramatic reduction in child deaths. They were looking at how to work more fairly with farmers in Kazakhstan on tomatoes for tomato soup. So these were the people who I wanted to be like. And this started me off on a journey of the second half of my career, which led me to now, which is all about trying to figure out how to bring innovation, investment, and development together to really shift systems change. And I think innovation has an enormous role to play, but we are not scaling it up quickly enough. And I completely respect what Alexander has said about the challenge of taking people with you. But I also think some of it has to do with the frame of our imagination. And I'll use a few examples, if I may, to illustrate this for you, of innovations. So, there we go. So basically, I've seen 3 kinds of innovation in my time in the last sort of 15 years or so. One is about delivering to fundamental needs better, cheaper, faster. That's something we can all understand. So an example of a company like Drinkwell, who was part of an accelerator that I ran, basically had this great idea of creating water ATMs, which meant that people could go and get fresh water at a much cheaper price, with much more reliable quality. The 2 things I say about these innovations are they're anchored in fundamental human needs. What could be more fundamental than access to clean water, after all? But they are also deeply dependent on partnerships, the kind of partnerships we've seen illustrated this morning between public and private sector. So in this case, Drinkwell worked closely with Unilever, with the UK government's development arm, with Dhaka Wasa, which was the public utility that really needed to think more innovatively and have a boost to provide this great need for an increasing population. So this was a great example of a technological solution that delivered to a fundamental human need in a better way. Brilliant innovation. But there's more. We tend to think about innovation as being something, development innovation, as being something that's targeted more toward developing countries. So for example, those that do not have the beautifully functioning system infrastructure of transport or water or food that we have in a place like Munich. But as we all know, and some of the politics of this has been alluded to before, one of the challenges we have is that for all of our prosperity, resources and well-being are not yet equally distributed. And I see this as a fundamental challenge and also opportunity for the circular economy. And there is very much a market there that is not just for the prosperous, but for the whole of society. Full disclosure, I'm an investor in this company, but this is not a pitch for the company. It is more an example of the kind of innovation that you can come to if you think about the human need first and the system change as well. So in the UK, about 6 million homes are affected by fuel poverty, which means spending more than 10% of your take-home income on energy. This has been a stubborn problem for years. It's gotten much worse recently because of the Ukraine crisis and various other things. The housing stock is terrible. This is a real wicked problem. However, at the same time, you basically have an industry, the cloud computing industry, that's growing like crazy, and whose big problem is how to get to CO2 neutral or negative, because the only thing that a big data center produces is heat. So Thermify's innovation is actually about bringing these two very different systems together, the energy system and the technology system. And the product is basically something that will replace gas boilers, so delivering to a climate target, with something that basically generates money to produce heat when people want it in their homes. The challenge is the existing policy responses in a place like the UK are to, in one winter, spend £9 billion to cover the increased cost of heat. It has not yet been to scale up these kinds of innovations. And I think this is one of the challenges and opportunities that we face, is how to get innovative solutions like yours more on the minds and in the models of our policymakers so that these things can really come to scale because they have tremendous potential. But the energy system isn't the only one that needs a fundamental rethink. So at our work at PACE, as was alluded to, we bring together public, private, innovators, investors to try and work on solutions. But we focus. We really make sure that we're focused on solutions that can deliver large-scale, very, very important change, because I think many people think about the circular economy as an incremental improvement on our current linear systems of production. So often when you see innovation, it's looking at things like making better use of waste products, or recycling. That tends to be still about 90% of the innovation that's out there. But what if we thought about it a different way? What if we thought about how the circular economy could really deliver to people, to nature, to climate, all at the same time? And that requires a very different way of thinking, not at the end of the process, not even at the beginning of the process in design, but more at a system level. And I wanted to use two examples on food and minerals to show you a little bit of this. So we have looked at PACE at food systems, and they're a mess, basically. We know they're a mess. For every dollar, euro that's produced in the food system, the estimate is that $2 of damage is done. So what do we do? At the same time, by the way, farmers are struggling. They're struggling with the impacts on climate. They're struggling with price volatility. You know, it's a terrible, terrible life to be a farmer, and yet we all need food. So we've looked at two value chains. It happens to be rice and cocoa, but it could apply to many others. And we've said, right, what do we do for the, in this case, 150 million or so farmers that is truly circular when they're growing rice? And amazing, when you look at the rice production system, you realize there are so many opportunities if we just think about production differently. So there are many byproducts of rice, of cacao, of any crop. And at the moment, things like rice straw and rice bran ash are simply discarded. They are burned, they are flooded. This causes enormous environmental damage. It does absolutely nothing to help farmers. And the thing that's getting in the way is awareness, innovation, policy, and cost. No one has the money to pay for these things to be carried from the farm and made into something productive. But technically, there are 1,471, I am not joking, probably more by now, academic papers that tell you how to turn rice byproducts into low-carbon building materials. And there are fewer than 10 scale projects on this in the entire world. That is something, ladies and gentlemen, that we together need to fix. Because if we're able to bring these kinds of innovation to scale, not only do we solve a kind of waste problem, but we actually create a whole set of resilience and benefit on the back end. But it's not just the food system. Critical minerals is also another part of our work, and I welcome you, by the way. This is an advertisement for the workshop at lunchtime to come and dig into this with us to discover the opportunities of the urban mine. But in minerals, in raw materials, it was mentioned earlier, we are going to face a massive increase in demand for these materials at exactly a moment when everyone is very frightened about supply. But we're thinking about the question all wrong, because a third to half of the minerals that we need in the world are already around us. They're already out of the ground. We just don't have an effective, large-scale way to recapture them. And I know pioneers like Arubis, who are wonderful, are working on this very hard, but they do not have the support at the system level that they deserve, because everyone is focused on supply, supply, supply of virgin materials. And at PACE, we're making sure that people are aware there is a complementary alternative, and actually that the global north, that's us, who have more than we need all around us, have a responsibility to adjust energy transition to solve this with innovation, with investment, and with smart policy. So, in conclusion, I would just say thank you, think big, think deep, think like a system. Think about how all of your solutions can benefit people, nature, and climate. And I know you're going to do amazing things, not just as unicorns, but as impact unicorns too. Thank you very much.
So much, Ramona, for your great presentation. I would kindly ask you to come back on stage. Give her a loud round of applause, please, Ramona. There you go. Thank you so much for your presentation. And I think we can all agree that whatever she does it with all her heart. And we now would like to open a little Q&A session for anyone who has a question to Ramona. But maybe first of all, Ramona, my question to you. What is the one thing that really pushes you forward to put all this effort, all the hours, all the work into that big vision?
Good question. I think it's probably something that motivates everyone in this room, which is this stubborn optimism. You know, I believe people are inherently good. I believe people have all the solutions. And if people made the world that's gotten us here, we can make a world that gets us out.
Sounds great. So, now turning to the audience, do you have anything in mind you would really like to ask Ramona? So now is your opportunity. You can simply raise your hand, give us a high hand raise, and then the microphone will get right to you, and you'll be able to just say your name quickly, introduce yourself, and ask the question.
Thanks. Hi, Ramona. Thanks for your really nice presentation. My question is not a hopeless effort to do everything you are doing in a society based on growth? In a society based on growth.
The growth question. Thank you for that. I mean, I do have colleagues. PACE is hosted by a large think tank called the World Resources Institute, and there are a group of colleagues working mightily from a kind of new economics perspective in order to decouple the way that we measure things. And I think that's a very, very important strand of work. The good news is, I think, at least in certain parts of the world and at least in certain parts of the world, the question of whether growth at any cost is really the right metric, its time has come. And I think people are starting to realize that if we do not have prosperity for everyone in society, then we will not continue. We'll simply hit a wall. We knew this 50 years ago when Donella Meadows wrote Limits to Growth. Their models were strikingly accurate about when this modern form of capitalism based on endless growth would start to crumble. And we know it now in planetary overshoots. We know it otherwise. I think what we do need, though, is responsible politicians and responsible politics that takes the climate issue out of any political sphere and make sure that there's a certain base level of responsibility, even if people disagree on the exact implementation of technology or solutions. I think we have to agree today's system is not working for people. And that gives me hope that we can actually reframe growth that allows for prosperity through the circular economy. What else? Thanks for the question.
Thank you for a great answer. One more question right here.
Wait. Yeah, hi, I'm Johanna. I'm working both with investors and startups. And my question to you would be, what needs to change from a finance system perspective? What need investors need to change? Thank you.
Oh, so much. Thanks for the question. I think three main things need to change. The first is, for anyone who follows climate finance, I'm a bit of a finance geek by background. We realize that all of the finance is pretty much going into mainstream commercial project finance of energy infrastructure. Because it's easy, because in a way it's what we've always done, it's just that now it may not be oil and gas, it is instead renewables. I think we need a scalable, understandable model for adaptation. And my second enabler to this is really that we need to reprogram the minds of everyone who has responsibility for allocating climate finance. Because there is still very much a sort of linear focus in finance and a lack of understanding that many, many co-benefits are being produced that are not priced in. Which leads me to my third solution, is a radical scale-up of blended finance. I actually worked in blended finance before joining PACE, and I believe that being able to price things like the benefits to people and nature are really important in getting a well-rounded business case together, but also in bringing public and private investment together to fund real innovation. So thank you for the question.
Thank you, Ramona. We had a hand going up right there. Please feel free to raise your hand really high so Leo can actually see you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mario Wegemann from Siemens AG. Following up on that question, what do you see as a timeline, right? So I think we are talking from stakeholder capitalism to shareholder capitalism, and that's kind of really kind of getting products providing a nature positive influence, right? So what do you see as a timeline, maybe, personally? I know it's a hard question, but
it's not hard. I mean, in a way, the timelines have already been set for us, somewhere between yesterday and 7 years from now. So if we look at things like the SDGs, they have a timeline. If we look at things like 1.5 degrees, they have a timeline. I would say that we're late, but I do think we can speed up with greater collaborative action across industry as well. That's the value of things like pre-competitive collaboration, because this stuff is hard. It's hard to do. It needs to become mainstream faster. And therefore, we can start to meet some of these deadlines if we're able to work together in different ways, which is why our work is structured to do exactly that, is to build those kinds of coalitions for change.
Thank you, Ramona. Question in the back. So how many more questions do we have, just so I get the feeling of how many people would like to ask? All right, 2 more. Yes.
Christian Hagelücken, I used to work for Umicore before my retirement. Yeah. I want to take up your question on this rice straw. And the point there was how to get the rice straw to the factories who can make something out of it. And I'm curious in your waste management section, because from my experience, the biggest challenge in closing loops is to get access to end-of-life products, and also would be interested for me how BMW wants to solve this when they want to recycle their batteries. What is your take on this? Yeah. So how to get this pull effect?
Yeah. Thanks for the question. And Umicore do wonderful work, so thank you for everything you've done for circularity. I think it's a bit more than just the challenge of getting the rice straw off the farms and into production. It's more about making this an industrial strategy for the country. I think that's where this has to start, because until you actually set your value and say, we want a low-carbon building material industry, we are going to prioritize local materials, we're going to provide incentives, the structure for the innovation and the commercialization of that innovation is not able to happen. So for many of these things, the problem is not actually waste haulage or recycling, it's actually the way that the government thinks about its priorities for prosperity and decarbonization. So there are 50 countries in the world, I believe, so far that have some kind of circular plan, but very, very few of them go into any detail about what they will actually do in a specific country context, which is why our work is very place-based. So looking at Vietnam, looking at Ghana for cacao, et cetera, is really the way to go here, because you have to be able to say, right, what's the right frame in which this becomes commercially viable and actually institutionally supported? I hope that helps. Thanks.
Hi, Hannes Matt. Thank you, Ramona, for your talk, and especially the very great reply to the growth question. I would like to get back to that and ask you what you would reply to the European Union and their green growth plan, and especially, of course, in the context of circular economy, the idea of decoupling growth and resource use. What would you tell them?
Yeah, it's a great question. This was actually the topic of a discussion last Thursday in Brussels. I would say, green growth plan, I'm glad there is one. I mean, that is a good start. However, I think a lot of it is over-focused on energy and disregards other systems. It seems to be there's a taboo that we can't talk about agriculture. We need to talk about agriculture, really, particularly in the EU. We need to talk about agriculture. Many of the people in the room made the point for me that there's really no mention of people. This seems to be all about infrastructure, and the human beings are remarkably absent. And yet there is a tremendous amount of concern about political backlash, which is also a question of people. And to Alexander's great point about you have to bring people with you, it's not just your employees and your stakeholders or your customers, it's also citizens. And I think there's the beginning of a realization that maybe, even though everyone is very proud of this green growth plan and it will deliver a faster energy transition, there is a lot more to do. So I would say to them, there's a lot more to do, but by the way, you have to include innovators and investors in your conversations. This cannot be a policy-only question, which is something we make sure we always do.
So we had 2 more hands. Maybe we get those questions and then we get over to the next point. But I want to thank you so far for just answering all those questions that are coming up. Yes.
Thank you. My name is Roman Mentle. I used to work for ICLE. Now I'm with the city of Munich. And I want to get back to the finance question, since you said you're a bit of an expert on that. I sometimes get the impression when we talk about finance for interesting, carbon reduction projects or circularity projects, you name it, that there's a bit of this idea of, well, if it's a business solution, if there's a return on investment, then great. Then you can get all this, financing that's laying around in, development banks, venture capital, whatever. Just make sure that I'm getting my 5% ROI, right? Mm-hmm. If it's something that is a good idea, but it's just going to cost somebody money, somebody has to pay for it, there isn't a perfect business model and everything, then suddenly we're talking about funding. And that is where the taxpayer, public funds need to be pumped into something that just needs to get done. Good luck to the general public finding a way of making money off of that. So I feel like there's a bit of a democratic discrepancy when it comes to financing. How can we turn this around? Is there a possibility for people to invest in the lucrative projects, get that ROI for the general public, and not have the taxpayer pay, for the bill for the things that are unfortunately not as easy to earn money with? Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, what a great question. Okay. I do have 3 slightly different answers to this. The first is taxpayers already pay. They pay for the negative consequences of an unequal distribution of resources and also a false focus on things like waste management. The European Union did a scathing report on its own circular economy spend and said that it had spent 95% of its money purely on trying to handle a flood of plastics and textiles. One of the reasons we don't work on that is A, because I think there's a lot of work, but B, because I'm not sure it's the most circular opportunity that can really transform systems. It is a waste management problem, and a very important one at that. But I would also say that taxpayers pay one way or the other. They paid for the bailout. They paid out for the fragility of the financial system in most of the world. So maybe taxpayers don't always realize what they're already paying for. So that's one part. That's my cheeky answer. My next answer, which may be a little more helpful, is that I think we need to get much, much better at other forms of financing. So for example, my husband is on the board of a community energy partnership in Brighton and Hove, supplying renewable energy at affordable prices to about 1 million homes. Their bondholders receive 5%, perfectly decent return, but perfectly decent return that is funding healthy environmental and social outcomes. And we need to scale that kind of financing much, much more. There are various levels of maturity in the European Union around people's willingness to put their pension or savings into these kinds of investments. But if this were given more of a public push, for example, there's something called Big Society Capital in the UK that is funded by all the dormant savings accounts. I don't know how many people know it. Show of hands, anyone heard of Big Society Capital? Right. So there's been a movement in Germany to try and get the same thing happening, where basically you have all these accounts lying around with 10 euros or 8 euros or 6 euros or whatever it is. If you aggregate all of that, that suddenly is a really good public investment fund that can be used. So I think we need to do that. But the third is we need to get much, much, much smarter about this blended finance business case challenge. What are the benefits that are being created by an investment? And I assure you that when you add all of them up, they add up to more than 5%. We have to start thinking about value and return in a very different way. Thanks for the question.
Niclas, last question.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to ask?
I'm not sure. I got the microphone somehow. Is this on? Yeah. Speaking of investments and them churning out, I love that example of the rice straws. Like a couple of others, I guess, also liked it. Now, I guess there's a couple of more opportunities out there. Asking for a friend, which one would you say is like the top-notch, untapped opportunity where you would simply ask yourself, why doesn't someone finally tackle this?
Oh, it's like asking me to pick a child or something. I don't have any, but you know, all these ideas are my kids. I have to say, I think the critical minerals challenge is something we have to do faster than anything else, just because of the pressing squeeze and the geopolitical importance. And we have to do it at a massive scale. So that is why, if all of you can go out tomorrow and tell everyone that there is in a high circularity scenario, we can really get far, far more of the critical materials that we need, that would be much appreciated. So that's my kind of most urgent to-do list. But the rest are really important too and really exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ramona. Please give her a loud round of applause once again. Thank you so much. And the good thing is she will stick around, so in case you come up with another question, you'll be able to ask her later on as well. So the great thing is that we have a really strong media partner here throughout this whole Circular Republic Festival. And this media partner is Focus Online, and we're now very excited to welcome the mastermind of Focus Online. He's the editor-in-chief since 2018 and has now, well, not now, but in February this year, with his team, established the sub-brand Focus Online Earth. I'm delighted that he's here. Please welcome with us, with a loud round of applause, Florian Festl. Florian, it's great to see you. It's actually the first time we meet. Great to have you here on stage. So I know, or I've heard, that you and the Circular Republic have a joint history. Now, tell us a little bit about that.
I think our shared history is being written right now, at this moment, because there are many reporters, maybe you saw them, of Focus Online Earth here today and tomorrow, and they report on this conference. They bring these topics and they bring your ideas on a big stage. That's what we want to do, and that's why we have a video wall over there in the first floor. Go there and talk to our people, because we are looking for new ideas. We are looking for people that have ideas for doing something good on ourselves and on our planet by doing business in new ways, in different ways. That's what we are looking for, and that's why we send stories and interviews on very prominent positions at Focus Online all week long. You see the topic, and everybody in Germany sees what we do here, what we think here.
So who of you has a good idea or a good story to tell? I hope a little bit more hands are being raised. Okay,
go over there after this and talk to our reporters. We are very excited to have you there.
Exactly, and I hope some of you were just shy raising your hand, and we'll see a lot of you.
Just a few words.
Yes, go ahead.
About our personal connection. We met each other the first time, I think it was in the early summer that year, and I very soon realized that there is a match. Why? Because Matthias and Sabine, they are very, very heartwarming people, and they have so much knowledge. They have a big network with experts, with the connection to the universities, and with entrepreneurs. And that's what we are searching for, because we have the big stage. Focus Online reaches 25 million people per month, and so let's make a topic like circular economy big together.
Does it sound good? Yes. It gets even better that you're here. Awesome, Florian. So tell us a little bit more about the sub-brands of Focus Online Earth. Why did you start to establish that sub-brand to really tackle sustainability, but also the crisis that we're having, and maybe also present solutions on how to overcome the crisis?
we founded this brand in February, and we opened our new office in the R Valley a few weeks ago. Why did we do that? We think, we have to invest as a media company to be able to cover a topic permanently. Because if you don't install permanent structures, permanent teams, a topic like climate change, like circular economy, will be just brushed aside if a new event appears. Just think about the pandemic, the war in Ukraine, or the Gaza massacre. If something like this happens, nobody is talking about the climate or about new ways of economy. And that's why you have to establish teams, and that's why we did that. And yeah, if you establish a team, this team will find new narratives by themselves.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So how big is your team?
The team has 10 people, and some of them work in the R Valley and some work in Munich and Berlin.
Yeah. And what was their motivation to join the sub-brand, so Focus Online Earth?
We could have put 20 or 25 people to the team.
So many wanted to join it?
Many wanted to change teams to work with that.
Yes.
And their motivation is to find solutions, because media most of the times talk about problems, about big problems, and we have to do that, but we should also find and talk about solutions. And that's why they work there, and it's a hard topic for them.
So, I mean, you've already come away from February to now November. What are the hurdles that you see or the challenges that you face when really wanting to create a stage for solutions that could actually make this world a better place?
The hurdle, I talked about one, is you have to install permanent structures. Most of the media don't. They just jump on the topic if there is a climate conference or something like that, and then they go away. And you have to find new ways to talk about it. Because people want to be confronted with problems after work. They want to hear something about solutions. They want to be inspired. And yeah, so come up with new ideas. And to do that, you have to be in a topic in depth. You have to understand it. You have to talk to entrepreneurs, to scientists, to find new stories and new storylines.
So would you say that your team is also to a certain degree experts in the field of sustainability?
Yes, I think they become expert more and more. And they are already experts in storytelling. And journalists want to be successful with their stories, and that's why they try out different storylines, different narratives. And yeah, they go on and they are successful. Focus Online Earth has around about 10 million visits per month. I think it's the biggest climate hub in the internet in Germany.
And now when talking about winning the broader society, I mean, Ramona already said it, we need to kind of win the politicians, we need to win the politics, we need to include the government, but also I think the broad society needs to be a little bit more, I don't know, tackled for this topic. Is media the one and only way, how you would say we can, I don't know, win their hearts and win them for the topic of circular economy?
It's not the one and only way, but I think it's an important one. And I had an aha moment when I listened to Hans-Peter Siebenhaar.
Yeah.
He's a mobility expert, and he spoke at a panel of Focus Online Earth a few weeks ago, and he talked about the desire of mobility we have to satisfy. And he knows what he's talking about because he was a very successful manager in the old car industry in former times. And he didn't speak about new bans, new rules, new eco-dictates we need. He talked about the desire. He gave a promise of fun, and he told people how we can reach that in new ways. That's a totally different starting point. It's all about fun and not about being correct or being better than others. That's one point. And I think there's another point. People want to have fun, and people want to be successful in their short lifespan on this planet.
Yes.
And we have to find success stories.
Yes.
Maybe you saw that. We told you the story of Wilhelm Mauss. He's an entrepreneur from Baden-Württemberg. Matthias connected us, and he did something very, very interesting. His company is producing water meters made by brass, and his company was threatened to collapse because of big pressure from competitors from Asia. They work with cheap material and plastic and things like that. But he didn't try to become cheaper. He switched to circularity. And that's what he did. And he reprocesses his water meters now and brings them in circulation again. And nobody offers better materials for a better price. So that's why his company is doing well again. And the message is, the more circular you are, the more successful you are.
That's a good message.
And
Who believes
that's a good
that?
message. Let's talk about fun and success.
Florian, since it's quite special to have an editor-in-chief of Focus Online standing here on stage, I think I will once again open for the public. So in case you would like to know one certain thing from Florian that you always wanted to know from him, now it's your opportunity to ask that question. Raise your hand. We already have one right there.
Yeah, thanks so much. I'm Jakob, I'm from Systemic, and my question is about recent regulation that the German government has tried to introduce around climate, so the Heizungsgesetze, etc. And the media has been extremely negative, so there's been a lot of pushback from Bild and other media, and I've been very concerned about this extreme backlash against it. And I wanted to ask you, what is the role of Focus? Do you plan to be a different voice? Do you plan to push against Bild and others, or yeah, what's your position?
Tough question.
Thank you.
We have to point it out if the government and if the responsible persons doing things wrong, and that's what happened. They didn't communicate it right, and it was a very bad law, and it became a little bit better, but it was an error story from the beginning to the end. And that's why we have to point it out, and Focus Online also does that. But we split between the political part in our program and the constructive part. That's why we have Focus Online Earth, and we do it at the same time. So we give you different perspectives. We don't only have to talk about the hard political discussions. We have to talk about solutions, the industry, new economy, and things like that. And that's why we mix it up, and this is my way to handle it.
Thank you, Florian. Anyone else? Is that a hand raise? Kind of. All right, right here.
Media obviously have a lot of responsibility, and we need, for circular economy, we need a mindset change. We need to make circularity desirable, but how can the media, say Focus Online, help to do that when our economy here in Europe is still so dependent on buying new stuff, on growth?
I think there is a simple thing. We need more broadcast time for the topic. The foundation of Lisa and Maria Furtwängler initiated a big study, together with German broadcasting companies, and they found out that only 1.8% of the broadcast time is filled with climate topics, for example. That's a joke. We have to increase the attention, increase the broadcast time at first, and then put the best people you have on these topics. The narratives will follow, the attention will follow, and it will be bigger, and we will reach the hearts of the people if the best people you have in your company work on the topic. That's very important, I think.
Thank you so much, Florian. And as you just mentioned in the beginning, we need the good stories. So once again, a reminder, in case you have a good story or a great idea you really want to share, please go to the wall upstairs at Focus Online Earth and just come by and share your vision. Thank you so much, Florian, and we were very delighted to have you. Thank you. All right, we're now getting to the last keynote before lunch break. And great thing is that this woman is passionate about food. She's not only cooking, but she has a community kitchen in München-Neuperlach. It's a district, in case you don't know Neuperlach. And she is saving 15 tons of food per week. I think this is incredible. And in fact, she will also cook for us. So in case you're interested in trying her food, just go upstairs later on in the lunch break and try it out. I'm so excited to have her here. She's also the founder of Community Kitchen and from many different startups. Welcome, Güneş Seifert. Applause.
Hello. Hello, everybody. I'm very pleased to be here, and hopefully I can give you a little bit of energy right before the lunch. You can taste our lunch, and you can taste how good climate protection, or let's say it better, the most effective action in climate protection works. You know drawdown.org, I hope? Who knows that? Drawdown.org? Nobody? Really? Okay, you have to read it, okay? 200 scientists made their work. They gave us the 100 most powerful activities based on science. Reducing food waste is number one. Imagine that. You're just eating what is already there. And if you think now, okay, that's what Güneş is doing is social, it's ecological, it's smooth, she's female, you know, she can't do really hard work and numbers. It's 400 billion US dollars per year that is wasted from farm to retail. 400 billion dollars. That means this is a big size market. You can make a lot of money there, you know, if you have a solution. And it's okay to have it, because I think it's not okay that others destroy, by getting paid for it, our climate. And it's not about the green tree outside, it's about us. It's about that we don't fight for food, for water, and for living somewhere where we can live, you know. It's not about the green romantic stuff. It's about us, everybody of us. And it's not okay if others get paid for it, and we try voluntarily to save it. It's not working. So if you want to make a change, you do it. And you ask for money to do it effectively, you know. And this is what we do. We have the Community Kitchen. It's a big-size restaurant. It's one of its kind in the world. We felt in love with the problem, not with the solution. The problem is food waste. The solutions are for us. We are making food, like today, lunch, catering. We have a restaurant. We make products. We make education. We make keynotes. We make a lot of things because we try out what would work. Like a normal startup, we do what everybody of you is doing if they have a startup. You try to find your market and your business opportunity. The good thing is that we have one thing, braveness. We just do the things, you know? And if you think the food waste is so abstract, she's talking about a lot of billions of dollars. She's talking about that half of food that is produced is thrown away, although it's edible, it's eatable, you know? I have an MBA. I learned for 5 years to make everything more effective, more efficient, to optimize. And you know, every student in school, in primary school, understands that it's unlogical. Why? If it's Mother Day, you make 2 pictures, you give one your mother, and the other one you throw away. This is happening with our food every day. And in that case, do you know how much is thrown away in Munich just by the households? Remember, we have the farmers, we have the manufacturers that make yogurt from milk, we have the wholesalers, we have the supermarkets, we have the events, caterings, bakeries, and we have the households. Do you know what the households are throwing away per day? Just in Munich, do you know? How much is it? Any idea? I know you know it. You're intelligent. Tell me. Yeah. 2 kilos. The whole Munich makes 168 tons per day. Eatable food. 168 tons. Imagine that. And this is just what you could have eaten per day. And you know what it is? It's 118 grams per day. It's in the morning, the breakfast, the 2 pieces of toast. They are now hard and cold. I don't eat them anymore, perhaps. And then it's on lunchtime. You have 2 spoons too much on your table, and it will hurt you if you sit in your meeting, so you throw it away. And it's in the evenings, the 3 strawberries. because you buy them tomorrow anyway, fresh. Because of you throw that away, it's the size of a middle big apple. This makes a huge impact on how we live. And you know, forget about if it's important to protect the trees. Forget about if it's important that if you make so much food, if you overproduce food, and then you throw it away. Imagine that. You have farm, land, soil that has no vitamins inside, minerals enough. You have groundwater that has pesticides and antibiotica. You have the humans that are working half of their time for nothing. You have the pesticides that are in the air. You have the energy that you need to move the Traktoren, how it's called, the machines. So, and if you still think, okay, Güneş, talk about it, but sorry, I can't do anything about this. If you go with your bicycle and your textile bag to the Viktualienmarkt and you feel very sustainable because you buy now the strawberries in paper, you don't see that those strawberries were in cartons, had styropor between them, that they don't get destroyed. They are foiled so that the pallets get well from the groundwater poor South Spain to us, that we have perfectly strawberries in Viktualienmarkt. So you feel sustainable, but you're not. You're part of the problem. So I am rescuing food now for 10 years, and I refused to be part of the problem. I wanted to be part of the solution. And that's why we now rescued a big building in Neuperlach. It's 42,000 square meters big. We have founded 2 years ago this restaurant where we do a lot of stuff that I talked before. But we have also the biggest social interims usage, Zwischennutzung called in German, there from Germany. It's out 15,000 square meters. So if you come to us, people will give you one feedback, and this is perhaps because it's mine project. It's vivid there. You see life, you feel life. And I feel it's so important to be in life, you know, not working something that has no sense, no purpose. Do something that you can really change. But you know, now I have to ask you a really important question. The question is, I think you will hear a lot of theories here. You will hear a lot of numbers, and you will feel like everything that you hear today is just for the brain, and it has nothing to do with you, because you're interested. You're an interested person. You want to change something, but you don't feel that you can, perhaps. But the problem is with food waste. It says a lot about us, how we live. It says a lot about us that we are not organized enough, and we forget every week that on Sundays the supermarkets are closed, so we have to go there on Saturday evenings and ask the sellers for, why don't you have berries? Why don't you have bread? And imagine that, 10 people ask per day, they will do something with that information. Why? Germany and European and American countries are oversaturated. We have a lot of food everywhere. You know that. You go to the city, you have on the right, on the left, everywhere food opportunities. So everybody has something, the German Angst, fear. What is if my client comes to me and don't find what they want? So I don't do that. I fill the shelves. I have everything fresh until the last second of my opening hours. And then, what do I do on Sundays with that? Not my business, isn't it? I'm just a client. It's not my business. But yes, it's my business, because my behavior can direct it, if they have it still, until the end. If I'm not organized enough to go earlier and buy it when it's available. The second thing is, how much trust do I have in my own skills if I trust someone that is foreign for me and has a due date on the yogurt? So if there is a due date, a best before date, and perhaps it goes away today, I have all the skills. I was born with them. I can evaluate them, and I have a brain to make up an opinion. So how much does it say about me if I'm not capable to make my own opinion about food? What's then about politics, economics, What's about that? But the most important, I feel, is that. Answer me, please, the question. Who of you thinks in the mornings, I'm beautiful? Who wakes up and says, I'm great, I'm beautiful? Who does it? Who does it? In the mornings? Hello? Wake up, please. It's lunchtime. Okay. Second question. Who of you knows how babies are made? I have 3 sons. I was there in the whole process. Made and birth, yeah, I was there. Who of you knows that? Who knows that? Okay, interesting. You know what? It's always that more people say that they know how babies are made than they think they're pretty. But I have to tell you one thing. You have no idea. I'm so sorry. But I will tell you. I will tell you. Now I need someone. Can you assist me? Please, can you come here? I love that. Can you take this? I just need it. So thank you very much. How is your name? Niclas. Okay, thank you. So you have the egg of the mother. Don't you? Yeah, you have the egg of the mother. And you have the sperms of the father. And the sperms made their whole life up to be the most funny guys, the most clever, the most sportive, and the smartest ones, yeah? And they swim as fast as they can through whatever they have to do, yeah, to reach to the egg. At the end, one sperm is coming to one egg, and boom, a baby is born. Thank you.
Thank you for giving me a passage.
So no matter if you think that it's not okay to ask a question here, to raise your hand, to found a business, it's no matter what others in your environment tells you what you have to be, that you are shy, that you're not good enough, that you shouldn't do that. You are born as a winner. So if someone can change something in life, in this world, you can start with this. You can be the beginning. Do you have me? Really? So before you can go now to grab some lunch that we cooked, that our team cooked for you out of rescued food, we have today vegan vegetable schnitzel with potato mash. It's also vegan because we have a pea milk inside pea, you know, peas, Erbsenmilch. It's not pee-pee, you know, don't confuse it. And the second one is a Turkish beans Eintopf, whatever it's called in stew. Thank you. It's all vegan and a lot of salad you will see. One thing that we rescue on our weekly basis is pallets of avocados, and they are perfect. They are really pretty. The problem is that the wholesaler has to throw it away, he thinks, because the avocado needs 1 week more to get to the client, and then it's not that pretty anymore. But for me, the most important is first, are you hungry? And who of you wakes up and knows he's pretty? Who does it? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Gunesh. What a perfect keynote to open up the lunch break. I loved it. Who did too? Yes.
And wonderful job, Niclas, on that extra performance here. I think that was very valuable. That's your applause as well. And just wanted to say a little disclaimer, when you ask about the average amount of food waste that we throw away, that guy who said 2 kilograms, that wasn't me, okay? I was more optimistic. So now when we get to food, you need to go way below the 10 grams, right, that you have as a leftover. Otherwise, you get into trouble. But what's happening next now? Lunch break is coming up soon. 12:30, we're going to open the workshop area. You heard it, powered by Bertelsmann Stiftung. 12:40, the first workshop. Ramona Liberoff will hold it on From Waste to Resources. You should sign up for this. You should have had the link. If you haven't signed up and you still want to get in, you could potentially bribe the bouncer with some cookies. You might get in. Then we also opened the startup area powered by IFAD, also at 12:30. We will have our first round of startup pitches on circular inputs. For both sessions, you can bring your lunch, so that's kind of a casual session. Where is lunch now? What's happening?
Exactly, since all of you said that you're quite hungry, to my right side, so your left side, the Flesh Garden will open. So this is the restaurant here in-house. Then we have the great community kitchen cooking for us in the first floor. So just going up the stairs and then on first floor you will find it. Then we also have great drinks standing all around. Feel free to just grab a drink. And then we also have, as I said, the great barista sponsored by IFAD in the startup area.
That's where you will find me. And maybe just final words. At 1:30, we'll come back here on the main stage. We will have the launch of the Circular Gap Report for Munich. That's the first gap report on a city level, so history is being made. There will be a session with Circular Economy, the City of Amsterdam, of course, Circular Republic, and the European Commission. So I think that was a great start into the first Circular Republic Festival. I hope you all agree. That's a rhetoric question. Yeah, it was like, yeah. All right. So, with this, we've been pacing through our first session. Now everybody enjoy lunch, get connected. There will be a networking list link. You will find the link all over the place, where you'll see also who is around here, in case you want to check out online. But maybe you just make use of everybody who's on site here. So, see you later, enjoy your lunch, and see you here at 1:30. Thank you.
Bye-bye.